All right, and welcome everybody to the B&H virtual event space. Right now we have with us Shotti, who's a New York City-based visual artist working in entertainment and fashion. He's going to be talking about finding the right camera for you. Special thank you to Fujifilm for sponsoring this event. So with that, Shotti, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Danny, thank you. And thanks to B&H and Fujifilm for having me here today. Again, my name is Shotti. I'm a professional photographer, freelance, mainly consider myself a portrait photographer, but over the years I've worked with a wide range of subjects, from concerts to live performances, baby showers, celebrities, down to food. Obviously, this is sponsored by Fujifilm. I didn't always shoot Fujifilm. From the start, I had my own journey on how I got here. Went back and forth with a few different cameras in the beginning. I'll show some of my photos that I've created over my journey, which I've been photographing for about 10 years now. All of these photos are with different cameras. So I want to make it known that this webinar isn't so much about the technical aspects of photography or the cameras. Is more of an approach to what kind of photography that you're going to be doing, which will help you in turn pick the right camera for you, since all cameras pretty much do the same things. This is travel. I do like to do a lot of traveling, so this is actually in Cuba. It's good to have a camera that's like portable. So that was one of the things that I always struggled with, was finding a camera that had strong enough quality and power to do things professionally, but something that I could carry around in my pocket. These are just a few of the photos that I've taken. This is one of my favorite photos here of my grandfather. Some food stuff. One of my clients is the Food Network, so I do a lot of food stuff, which you won't really see on my website, but it does make up a big chunk of the type of photos that I take. And that leads us to our question: what's a good camera to get? In this tutorial, in this webinar, which is less like a tutorial, I'm going to show you the important things to ask yourself. Like I said, it's not going to be technical. I'm not going to show you how to use cameras, but thinking about why you're going to be using the camera will give you a better idea on what type of camera. So at the end of this webinar, you'll be able to ask yourself the questions and be the best person to answer what is the type of camera that you're going to get. So there's a ton of resources on the internet that you can go to and learn how to use cameras and different functions. I'm going to try to keep it basic, but if there's anything that you don't quite understand or you want me to go back, just send a message, leave a comment, and we'll get to it. So some of these questions. What is a good camera to get? Features to look for in the camera. And this is basically like the features that you want versus the features that you actually need. And that's where you're gonna try to break down and understand the type of photography that you're gonna be doing. The future of photography, like where's photography going? These are some of the things that we're gonna discuss. Process, so like understanding your workflow, things to consider that kind of like help you get the shots that you're going to need to get. I'm going to talk a little bit about how I choose my camera and the ways that I use it, and why you're awesome, which at the end we'll figure out why you're awesome if you don't already know. So the age-old question: what camera has the best image quality? This is something that I get asked a lot when people are asking me what type of camera they should get. And naturally, photographers have an affliction to this question. It's a good question because there's so many different products on the market that you could get. It's hard to choose between one. But I kind of say it's like asking a chef what's good food to eat, or you know, it's just it's more about the things that you like more than it is about there being a all-purpose camera or like a one-size-fits-all camera. Um, in today's day and age, pretty much all of the cameras are going to be good. They're packed with features and there's megapixels and 4K and dynamic range and IBIS and in-body stabilization and full frame. And I think as far as like features go, it's good to outgrow the features. Like we worry a lot about features unnecessarily, and we'll try to grow into the features and get features that we'll wind up not using. And I think it's best to do the opposite. I think it's best to get a camera, figure out and push the limitations of that camera. And once you go beyond that, move on to another camera. I'm going to show some pictures, some basic photos that I took as far as like image quality. This is a photo outside of my building. I was walking outside one day and I looked up and I thought it was a cool picture. This is from a portrait session that I had in Harlem. I really like this. This is on like 174th Street. And this is my daughter in the Whitney Museum. So as far as quality goes and what images have good quality, the thing I can say about all three of these photos is that it was taken with a camera phone. So as far as quality, like I said, in 2020, you're going to be hard pressed to find a camera that doesn't meet the needs that most people are going to face. Like in let's say when digital cameras first came out, they were like 2 megapixels, 4 megapixels, and people were shooting billboards with those things. So like I said, it's not so much about the image quality, because you can make something good with anything. It's going to be about those features that support your creativity and push you to want to make images. Naturally, when we think about what camera we want, a lot of times we focus on the end product, and we see an image and we'll say, well, what camera was that shot with? I've done it. Actually, when I started photography, I started photography with a camera that was gifted to me for my birthday. It was a point and shoot camera. And I just started to take photos with that. And I kind of jumped around from different systems based on what people were giving me. I had friends that had old cameras from their parents or their grandparents, and they would give me that. And I kind of would just mess with those things. But once I started to decide, all right, I want to do this for real, and I need to figure out what camera I'm going to invest in, I was just looking at images and I would ask, what was this shot with? Or I would look up, I would research a certain camera and see all of the pictures that were shot with that camera, which is cool. But what I neglected to do was understand the process, the things that it took to get to that image. And it's not just a thing where you can press the shutter and voila, you have this beautiful image. One of the camera systems that I had, I loved it. One of my mentors, he shot it, and I just really loved the image quality. What I didn't know was every picture that I took with that camera, I was gonna have to shift the reds a different color to get it to be true. So these are the things that you don't really pay attention to on how we get an image. Again, text, specs, megapixels, all of those things don't really matter as much when you're dealing with creativity and having a camera system that's gonna nurture that and push you to want to take more pictures. So what are the things that does matter? When I was looking for a camera this last time that I switched systems, it was very important to understand cameras that have an ecosystem. An ecosystem is basically, does your camera brand have a range of accessories? So that's going to be lenses, flash, batteries or battery grips, anything that's going to go with your camera to help you take a better picture. So you want to invest in a brand that has a good ecosystem. They do more than just one thing really well, you know, as far as make cameras, because you need a lens. And I think it's really important to have a good lens, almost more than it is to have a good camera. So are there products that enhance and support the brand that you're looking into? Community, which is, it's a big thing that we don't normally consider, but you know, you have access to information on the internet, and there's tutorials on how to make things work. But the community, which is something that I found with Fujifilm, and I really like about the Fujifilm shooters, is that there's a strong sense of community, and it's very easy to get in touch with somebody that shoots Fujifilm and kind of like look at what they do and hit them. I found that the people that shoot Fujifilm are really community driven. They're willing to share their creative tips, and just kind of, it's kind of like a, I don't want to say a secret society, but since I've joined the Fujifilm community, I've noticed a lot more Fujifilm people, and I've reached out and built with a lot of people, and I just really feel like I'm a part of something. And anytime I have a question about a camera, there's always somebody that I could reach out to. People are always sharing things online. And that's something that really is important. I didn't really get that too much with the other brands. I think Fujifilm also makes it pretty easy to access some of the things on their own website, where they have different resources for people who want to get information about some of the cameras. Simplicity, which is, you basically want to be able to pick up a camera and start shooting immediately. You don't want to have to spend a lot of time going through menus and trying to figure out how to work things, what buttons do what. It's anything that's going to get in the way of you seeing the image is a bad thing. So since we're talking about digital and not film, you're getting instant results right away. It's not like you have to shoot 3 rolls of film, spend some money, wait a week to figure out that you had your thumb in front of the lens for all of the pictures. You can take a picture, see it, okay, something's wrong, go ahead and make adjustments really quick. So you want to have a camera that's going to allow you to kind of intuitively just take pictures. And excitement. You want to make sure that there are exciting things, like which I feel like ties back into the community, and you get to see different people doing different things and getting ideas. And I can definitely say, like, switching to Fujifilm made me change my approach to photography in terms of like walking around and always trying to be creative. After shooting for so many years, you kind of separate your job and work. You know, photography becomes work, and you kind of separate that from just going out and being creative. And I think Fujifilm has definitely sparked a new creativity and a new curiosity in me. And I'm excited about the products that come out and the new features that they have that basically make my job easier, but also my recreational enthusiasm to take photos easier as well. So I'm going to tell you guys a little bit more about how I chose my camera. So mirrorless is the future. I'm not going to go into too much time talking about the different cameras, and there's compact, there's point and shoot, there's large format, full frame, it's a whole bunch of stuff. I think that the future of photography and cameras is mirrorless. Basically what mirrorless means is, so I have a camera here. DSLRs. And if you look inside, there's a mirror, and that allows you to see what the lens is seeing through the camera. It kind of gets in the way when you take photos, and it's like when you hear that click sound, but it's basically, it allows you to see what the lens is seeing. A lot of the newer cameras don't have this, and I feel like the direction that photography is going is in the direction where these cameras don't have those mirrors. The thing about the mirror is, so you basically, when you're looking through the camera and you're recording the image, there's a sensor inside the camera, and the lens captures the scene and it points it back to the sensor. When you have this mirror, you don't really need to use the sensor to look at the photos. So you're not wasting a bunch of battery on looking through the picture, which is one of the setbacks, or the earlier setback of a mirrorless camera. So that was one of the things that took me a while to switch over to mirrorless, because I was always concerned about the battery life, but that was a couple of years ago. Now the batteries are a lot stronger. The cameras are getting a little bit bigger. So battery life isn't so much of a problem. One of the things about DSLR that I liked was being able to look through, so I'm just used to holding the camera to my face. So what's cool about mirrorless is that aside from having this flip screen on the back where you can see the images, you can also look through an electronic viewfinder, and it lets you kind of get a preview of what the picture is going to look like when you're looking through the camera. So if you've ever had a DSLR, you pick it up, you go, you look, you see the perfect picture, and you press the shutter button. And then in an excitement, you go and you look in the back of the screen and you want to see this masterpiece that you just created, and the photo looks like this. That's because when you're looking through a DSLR and not a mirrorless, you're seeing just what the lens is seeing, and it doesn't take into account what the camera settings are. You may have the shutter speed at a setting that is not letting in enough light to the sensor. But with mirrorless, it's kind of like what you see is what you get. So that's one of the things that I really like as far as mirrorless goes. I also, being a portrait photographer, there's a lot of times where I'm shooting at an angle that is low, or if I'm trying to do, sometimes you want to make the subject look big and powerful, and you need to shoot them at a low angle. If I'm in the street, I'm a Devo now, so I may not want to lay on the floor. So I like that there's a flip screen here that'll allow you to view from a lower angle, from a higher angle when you have the camera down at a lower angle. And then if I want to shoot up above, that you can kind of see different angles with the camera, which is something that DSLRs don't really have. And I really like that. So these are the features that I think about when I'm taking photos and when I'm working on my photography, some of the things that help me. Another thing is I hate post-production. What I like about Fujifilm, and what you should consider, is what's going to be the final output of your photo. Are you the type that wants to sit and edit photos and change colors and do all of those kind of things? I'm not. I like to get it right in the camera. And what I like about Fujifilm is that they have different film simulations already. So you can kind of look at, like this photo here. This was of one scene, and they have I think there's like 18 or more different film simulations that they have on their cameras. But you can take a picture, and inside the camera, you can change. After you take the photo, if you shoot raw, you can kind of process the photos in the camera to get different film simulations. Or before you do that, you can kind of pick, being that you can see the screen, and like I said, what you see is what you get, you can kind of pick a simulation based on whatever it is that you're trying to do creatively at the time, shoot it like that, and then there's really no need for post-processing. at the end of that when I get home, that's just a part of my workflow that I really don't like. I want to take the photo, be happy with it, and then go out and take more photos. And I found that I was spending a lot of time not taking photos, but editing photos. And that's not cool. These are some of the photos that I've taken with Fuji since I've switched, which in July, I was welcomed into the Fujifilm Creator Program. So see, these are some of the photos that I've taken since then. Again, these are good because I get to set the light and see exactly what it is that I'm gonna be shooting. I feel like it pushes my creativity, and being that these cameras are a lot smaller. This is a GFX, so this is a medium format. It's a bigger professional camera, and I use this to do mainly my work portraits or if I'm doing any fine art photos. But then I also have a smaller body, which I'm using as this webcam, which is why the video is so crispy. But it's a lot smaller. It's really compact. But it really gives a good image quality. But this is something that I'm able to carry around and walk around, and it just makes me feel like I'm empowered to take photos when I'm out without feeling the burden of carrying around a heavy camera. This is another photo that I took in Harlem. You saw one of the photos earlier that was taken with the camera phone, and then this was taken with the GFX. This is a photo off of my balcony, which I tend to take, like I have about maybe 500 photos of the same setup, but just different times of the day, different weather conditions, daytime, nighttime. And it's always very interesting to me, the different things that I see in each picture and the different ways that I feel based on each picture. And I had stopped taking these photos for a while. And once I started to shoot Fuji, I don't know, I feel like I always have access to a camera, and it's always that easy for me to kind of just grab it and take a photo, like kind of anywhere I am. These are some portraits that I took, and the thing that I like about Fujifilm and the ease, the film simulations and shooting is that I get to spend more time engaging with the person that I'm shooting and less time messing with camera settings and looking to see if it looks good and trying to figure out how I'm gonna do it and what it may look like later. And that's just like a lot of anxiety. And I kind of just like to see what it is, that's good, and then just go. And it allows you to get better pictures and be more in the moment. I like the colors of the camera too, and the quality it just gives is different than anything I've shot before. And like I said, like I don't like to do a lot of post-processing. So most of these images are pretty much what they look like when I shot them. All I need to do is import them to my computer, send them to my phone, and put them on the internet. This is my lovely building, Tracy Towers. That was it. I don't know if you guys have any questions or anything that you feel is missing. Send a comment to let me know. And here's my information here. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We don't have any questions coming in just yet, so I'll give a moment for people if they have any questions. But do you have any tips for buying a used camera?
So the tips for buying a used camera are just to kind of do some research into what you're going to be using the camera for. I think buying a used camera is good because the person that you're buying the camera from, you kind of get to, they've obviously used the camera for something, so they can kind of give you an idea how they used it, and then you can see if that coincides with how you're going to use that camera. You want to make sure, obviously, that the camera works. Maybe take it for a test run and take photos with it. I know it's not optimal for everyone to, some people like to buy cameras online, or they may not have somebody who they can directly access, but I do recommend buying used cameras in person, unless you know what kind of camera you're going to be getting, or like you've done research into a particular camera.
Yeah. And when you're buying used cameras, people seem to be obsessed with like shutter count. How much does that play in your decision for buying something used?
So shutter count is kind of like how could I say this? So a shutter is either gonna work or not gonna work. So I've had cameras that there's one camera that I had to have the shutter replaced, but I've had like 10 cameras. I have cameras from 30 and 40 years ago that the shutter still works. So I feel like you shouldn't worry too much about the shutter count. I like to think that the more cameras used, people don't really recklessly take photos, like just hold the camera and just take 1,000 pictures. So if you do have a camera that has a high shutter count, chances are there was a photographer that took pictures quite frequently, but they know what they're doing as far as taking the pictures. But you also want to make sure that whatever camera system you have, like, so say Fujifilm has a professional services program where they service the cameras. So you want to make sure that the company, the brand that you're choosing, has a program like that where they can kind of take the camera, and if a shutter needs to be replaced, they have professionals that know that system that can go ahead and do the work for you.
All right, great. And we have a question that came in from Melody. She's asking if you can post the names and models of the cameras that you presented. I don't know if you want to run through those real quick.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So this camera that I use mostly is the GFX 50S. This is a medium format camera. The lens on it, because this is, these bodies are separate. So this lens on it is the 45mm, which I use to do interiors and portraits where I want to incorporate the environment. So this is a wider angle lens. They have different lenses, zooms, if you want to get closer and do more headshot stuff. The camera that I'm using right now for the webcam is the Fujifilm X-T4, which is one of their newer cameras. It's their flagship camera currently. There are also some really cool cameras that are coming out. They have the Fujifilm, the XS10, which I had the pleasure of shooting earlier, but that's one of their, it's like an entry-level camera, but the quality of that camera is amazing. And I think that that's a good camera to start with if you're coming from a DSLR world, or you don't have much experience with these types of cameras, because that camera, I had a pre-production model and it didn't come with a manual or anything, and I was able to just get right in there. It does video, 4K video, and there's a record button right on by the shutter that you just press to record a video. Usually you have to change a knob and go to a dial and go in the settings to record video, but this thing was kind of like, what you see is what you get. Everything is very straightforward, and the quality of it was super, super amazing. Like I said, I don't think we should focus too much on the quality, because most people that take photos, they're gonna wind up on Instagram, or rarely are we printing these things. And if we are printing them, we're not printing them super large. And I think that there isn't a camera that's being released that can't handle whatever most of the people are gonna do with it in terms of quality.
Yeah. And going along with printing, we have a question here. Does where you develop your pictures matter regarding photo quality? I'm guessing in regards to film.
Where do I develop my film photos?
They're asking, does the place where you develop your pictures matter regarding photo quality?
I would say that the place where you develop your photos matters in terms of professionalism. There is a chance that they could ruin your film, but it's most of these places that develop film now, they're not doing it. They have machines that do it. So you kind of want to just go for somewhere that has a good price and is reachable to you. If they have a good turnaround, if they're not going to take weeks to develop your film, that's kind of what I would go with. I haven't developed film in maybe 8 months or so. So I'm kind of getting with the Fujifilm cameras. I'm kind of getting more away from film, where I shot film to have a certain quality, and I shot mostly medium format film. But since I have this medium format camera, I haven't really felt the urge or the need to shoot film. It's really expensive, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And James is asking, do you ever start by having a specific lens in mind first and then pick the best camera to match your needs?
So my first profession was my second professional system. When I first decided that, all right, I'm gonna start buying gear and I'm gonna invest in the first system, I took all of the things that was given to me, all of the cameras, tripods, I had light stands and all of that, and I sold all of that to get gear. The first thing I bought was a lens. And it was like it was a zoom lens. It was a general lens because I knew I wasn't gonna, this is the first thing I had. So I wanted to get the most bang for my buck in this lens. So I do recommend you get in some type of zoom if you're not able to get multiple lenses. Now I shoot prime lenses, which is a fixed focal length. So a zoom lens, you can go from like a wide to a close up, and then a prime lens is just gonna be one focal length. If you want to zoom in, you walk closer to your subject. If you want to zoom out, you walk back, or you put on another lens that has a different focal length. So I do think, like I said, like understanding what you're going to be shooting. If you're going to be doing like YouTube videos mostly, you want to get a wider lens. Like the lens that I have on this camera now is a 35 millimeter, which is a little longer on a crop sensor, but anything closer in than this may not be good because it may be like too close to my face, and you kind of want to get the background, and if you're shooting things, you want to be able to get them all into the frame. So I think it's very important to consider your lens more than it is to consider what kind of camera that you're going to get.
Yeah. I'm not seeing any other questions coming in. Looks like we covered anything. Do you have anything else that you want to add?
I just think it's important to just, if you're thinking about getting the camera, pay attention to some of the things that I said that'll matter more. Being able to get somebody if you have an issue, or being able to connect with somebody. I know a lot of people in the Fujifilm community, they do photo walks and they'll link up in different places, I feel like there's, in every state, there's a community of people that shoot Fuji, and they get together a lot, and they'll walk around and take photos together. And that's a really good place to learn more about other people and learn more about some of the cameras, learn different techniques, appreciate different perspectives. And I think those are the things that will nurture your creativity a little bit more than just trying to figure out what features are the best features and the newest features.
All right, very cool. Well, I mean, if anybody has any more questions, you see up on the screen how to reach Shotti if you want to shoot him a question. Yeah, I think that's all we have here.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Again, here are my socials down here. Give me a follow on Instagram. Send me a DM to say what's up. And I hope to see you guys soon.